All right, so this person wrote, am I losing too much money in my sinking funds? I've got a number of sinking funds for things like home repairs, a new car, new computers and phones, and car maintenance, to name a few. I've also got some vacation money we'll be spending in the next 3 to 5 years, and wedding funds for my kids we're expecting to spend in the next 1 to 5 years. We pay cash for everything and don't do debt. Most of these are fully funded, and it's getting to be quite a bit of money. Around $100K for the general stuff, and $75K for the wedding savings, and close to $80K for a new car. All of this money is sitting in a high yield savings account. Over the last 2 to 3 years, as the balance on these accounts have grown, it's gotten more painful to not be investing it. Does anyone else with a large sinking fund have any advice? I'd like to just chunk all this money into an index fund and let it earn.
$250,000 just sitting in your high yield savings account.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. I'm going to make the assumption that this person has a high income and a high net worth, especially if they're saving $80,000 for a new car. Like, I'm just going to guess they have a high income based on that. I could be wrong. They maybe have been saving this for 25 years. I don't know. And like, yeah, could you be making more money on that? Sure. But I feel like this person really likes their funds that they have, like, ready to go if they need it. And it seems like they do kind of need some of this stuff. They don't say like when they need a new car, but like the weddings are coming up within the next 1 to 5 years, and the vacations 3 to 5. So it's like, you probably shouldn't put that into the market. If you need those things, you know, sooner, like we talked about earlier in this episode, like there's timelines to do that. But probably in this situation, not. Now, $100K for all of the phones, the computers, and all of that stuff, like that's quite intense. But I don't know if this is like a small portion of like their net worth. Like, I don't have a problem with this sitting there. But like, I think you need to stop with your sinking funds. Just like, I think you're good. And then maybe just take like the money that you were putting into these accounts and then just invest that so you can feel better about it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not putting this money in the market, I don't think, just because I'm assuming that this person has a pretty high income at this point. But what do you think about this?
I don't know. I question, is any of this person's kids, like, are they actually engaged?
Right.
Because they wrote, we're expecting to spend this money on their weddings in the next 1 to 5 years. Like, 1 to 5 years is a huge window for like, oh yeah, like if they're engaged, like, okay, I can kind of see it because that's probably like a year or two out. But if you're saying 5 years, you're like, I'm almost betting that like none of this person's kids are engaged yet, and they're kind of just planning for when it hopefully will happen. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, no, you said it. It's all relative. Like, $250K in cash is a lot of money in cash, but it depends on what percentage of your net worth that is, right? Like, if this is 50% of your net worth and it's just sitting in cash, like, yeah, you're not making the right decision there. Like, I think more of that should be invested, growing and you know, helping you increase your net worth. But if this person has like over, you know, is a multimillionaire, right? Like, has a huge net worth, has all their retirement accounts set up, has other taxable brokerage accounts set up, then having this money in cash, like it's not a big deal, and it's okay that they're not making money off of this money, right? But again, you're right. I said it before, and like, I think you kind of got to have this rule of thumb and then just stick to it for where to park your money. And so if you need it in the next 3 years, keep it as cash and a high yield savings. If it's like a 3 to 5 year window, like maybe take a little bit of risk and do a split. Like, it could be like a 60-40 split between cash and investments. And then if you need that money in 5 years or more, like, in my mind, it just makes sense to invest that money. Like, you're almost missing out on an opportunity not having that money invested, right? Like, I think this person's kind of at that point where hindsight's 2020, right? Like, they're at a point now where they've been hoarding this cash for so long that they're like, man, if I had just invested this money, I could have been sitting on double the amount. And I think that's starting to kind of weigh into this. And so I wouldn't get ahead of yourselves, right? Like, for the money that you need in the next few years, like, you already made the decision, right? You already went down this road. Like, you kind of got to just see it out, keep it as cash. But yeah, like you said, moving forward from here, like, you probably have more than enough cash. Everything that was going in there, like, you can probably afford to put all of that purely into investments, like a taxable brokerage, something you can still access if you need to, but with the intention of just letting it grow. Yeah.
And if this person had said, hey, I have like daughters who are like 2 and 4, I would say, okay, move that money into the market, you know, because you have plenty of time. You have at least 20 years for that, you know. And same thing with the car. If they would have said like, you know, we just bought a car, you know, 2 years ago, we're planning on keeping it for 10 years. But this $80K is going to be for a new car in the future. Maybe move that over too, because you're not going to need that for a while, but we don't know all the details here. But yeah, I think this person has plenty, and it sounds like they're they're just a saver. But yeah, they need to stop probably saving now because they're realizing that they are kind of missing out. So take that rest and just put it into the market from there.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think you got to look at what the expense is, right? Like if this money's being saved for like a future cost, like a very specific cost, right? It's for home maintenance or car repairs or things like that. Like those are unexpected. Cool. Let me keep that money in cash. But like wedding savings, which could take a few years, right? Like some people plan their weddings over the course of like 2 or 3 years or getting a new car. Like those things tend to have longer time horizons. In my mind, like from the start, I would almost say like those are safer to at least put a portion of that savings into the market so you can really get some exposure and hopefully like what you end up with is not just what you save, but it's also grown to 10 or 20% more than that, you know, whatever based on whatever your time horizon is. But yeah, things like emergency funds, cash reserves for maintenance and things like that around the home, that I think because it's so unexpected, like that's where I would keep cash for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. The information, opinions, and recommendations provided on this podcast are for entertainment purposes only and do not constitute professional financial advice. Any financial decisions you make based on the content of this podcast are your responsibility. We strongly recommend consulting with a licensed financial advisor or other qualified professional before making any significant financial decisions. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that we are not liable for any financial outcomes.